your host, Mariam Mia, and it's Educational Insight segment. And today I'm so excited to be introducing my next two guests I have here with me. It's Brother Ismail Teladia and Brother Haroon Mohammed, and they are part of a newly formed group called the Movement for United South Africa, the acronym being MUSA. And Musa is about promoting a transformative vision for the economy and education to respond to rapid changes and disruptions in the world. This vision entails developing and uplifting people as better human beings, being contributing to society from a moral and ethical perspective, driving new socioeconomic models and integrated knowledge systems. In preparing young people better for a rapidly changing world, Musa launched the Leadership Resilience and Leadership Pro. Musa launched the Learner Resilience and Leadership Program, and is pleased to be hosting the current series focusing on career guidance during the month of September. And I'm pleased to announce that apart from the viewing on being on ITV as well as Radio Islam, we'll be doing the Facebook Audio Vision live from next week as from Salam Media, and we'll be providing a platform for the initiative as well. So let me welcome Brother Ismail Taladia and Haroon Mohammed to our show. They are representatives of Musa. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Muhammad and Brother Ismail.
Walaikum salam, and thanks for having us on the program.
It's a pleasure. So tell me, how did you conceptualize forming this organization, Movement for United South Africa? How did it come about in terms of getting something like this done? Because from an educational perspective, in somebody who's in the field of education, it's much needed in terms of assisting our grade 10 to 12 learners with such information in workshops.
Shukran for the question. So, Musa, as you indicated, is a group of people from diverse backgrounds whose main objective is to advance socioeconomic justice. And it has its focus, poverty and inequality eradication. It's got 4 focus areas of work: public policy, so there's a lot of discussion, engagement with government and with experts on whether public policy is appropriate and whether it is being implemented correctly. But there's also a stream on institutional development and on social cohesion and community development. So Ismail and I work in the education task team of Musa, and over a couple of years, we've just been generally having discussions about the state of education and challenges that we're experiencing. And in the COVID period, that came into sharper focus. And so currently, we are running a series of what we're calling awareness programs with the title of Leadership and Resilience, on the understanding that, as is common knowledge now, in the last 5 months with the onset of COVID, schools have not been stable and attendance has not been regular. Teaching and learning hasn't been happening as we know it pre-COVID. And so the learners who will be going into the grades next year will be going with a clear learning deficit. And in anecdotal information we've been able to gather, what is clear is that many learners are not aware of the enormity of the challenges that lie ahead of them. So the one intention of this whole program is to make young people, together with their parents and communities, more aware of the fact that education has to be taken seriously, that each individual has to take more responsibility for their own learning, and also then to be aware of the changes in the economy and in the society that face them. It's asking of people to be more resilient and more adaptive. So in the last 2 weeks, we've been very gratified to be in partnership with ITV and Radio Islam, as you've mentioned, and we've started a series of discussions calling in specialists who can advise on career subject choices, but more importantly, leadership and behavior choices in managing their own learning.
That's really encouraging, and I'm so pleased that you have concerned citizens like yourself who've seen the challenges. Like you say, I don't think the youth understand the gravity of the situation in terms of they being disadvantaged by COVID, and also the ever increasing challenge and demands made for them. Even if you look at university spaces, there are more learners that want to come into tertiary education and enter universities, what their spaces available, and each year criteria gets more difficult and more difficult. So even with your maybe 5 A's and 3 B's, you're not guaranteed a place in terms of what you want to study, because places are at a premium. So guidance in terms of and how to navigate the system is important, because you lost, especially if you're at a school that maybe is not a former Model C or some, and under resource school, you don't have the luxury of information available. I just want to check if brother Ismail Teladia is what I see, he's coming through the screen. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Salam Media Educational Insights, brother Ismail.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to you, Mariam, and happy to be part of your show.
Thanks so much. I don't know if you caught the last question, and maybe you
Yes,
can
I
answer
did.
it. So if you can just answer that one for me, please.
Yes, I think it's important to note that there's no guarantees because of the demand for places at tertiary institutions. There are no guarantees, and I mentioned an example of a colleague in KwaZulu Natal whose daughter scored 7 A's. Could not get into any one of the South African universities to study medicine, and was forced to take up a scholarship in China in order to study medicine. So not one of the universities were in a position to accommodate her. And one of the reasons for that is that she is from KwaZulu Natal, she is from the Indian community, and we know our universities have a quota system on Indians from KwaZulu Natal for two popular courses, the one being medicine and the other one being BCom financial accounting. So those two programs have quotas specifically for Indian students from KwaZulu Natal. So a daughter had 7 A's, had to go to China, completed a medical degree in China, came back to South Africa, and is battling to do an internship because now the universities need to look at how they can accommodate her. So the challenge for C is there's no guarantees. I'll just give you some numbers very quickly. For example, at Wits University for this year, 2020, for placements in 2021, they've got 70,000 applications already, but they can only seat 4,900 students. UWC, University of the Western Cape, they've also have 70 plus applications, but they can seat even less. They only seat 4,300 undergraduate students. So you can see the demand for places is extremely high, and therefore the conversations that we are having this afternoon become so critically important, so that parents and students understand the gravity of knowing that you're not guaranteed a place even if you have top marks, and therefore your selection for particular programs becomes so important.
Yes, also, I think what's important in terms of your guidance on grade 9 subject choice, because as a counselor myself, for me, those choices should be happening much earlier in life, in terms of when you're in grade 9. You're supposed to have already some sort of direction to say, where's my aptitude at? And when you look at STEAM now that the department has introduced, there's an art component as well. So it progressed from STEM to STEAM. And by now you could say, you know what, I'm an art person. I'm interested in politics. I'm interested in law, or like you say, I'm interested in engineering. I'm interested in mathematics, and go that way. So already a grade 9 student should have some idea, and that is why if they don't have workshops such as the ones Musa are offering are important, in terms of, come, we're going to offer you career counseling much earlier. So no more come grade 11, what you want to study, where you want to apply. So already you can work to some goal. And for me, that's encouraging. And also, I don't know if you have plans to take this a step further, because schools now have subjects to move away from your traditional subjects and also get our learners mindsets to prepare them for the digital industrial revolution, the digital age. I know schools have engineering, graphic and design, electrical technology, IT, CAT, even going into pure art and things like that, so that you have 3 years training. Because a learner who does engineering, graphic and design, they start with engineering drawings from grade 8. So by the time they come to engineering first year, they're not struggling with those drawings. I know many learners drop out because they can't handle that component of it. So do you talk my language in terms of understanding those little challenges? I'll give that to Haroon.
Yes. Okay. So as you were saying, one of the things we're starting to do is, often even some of the grade 12s, many of them, if you can speak to them now, they will tell you they're unsure about what they're wanting to do in the future. And as Ismail has pointed out, uh, in the last 2 sessions that we've had with university recruitment specialists, they're telling us that less than 10% of applicants in all the universities actually get accepted, which means that, if you don't plan carefully, you'll get disillusioned and lose interest in further education. So important to start the preparation process even as early as grade 8 and grade 9. And by the time you reach grade 9, you should be having some sense of where you're wanting to go into the future. And as you also then pointed out, the nature of the working world is changing very rapidly. So you mentioned fourth industrial revolution. A lot of jobs that were traditional are going to become discarded, and a lot of new opportunities are being created. And so young people need to be aware of those possibilities. And in COVID context, that also has become slightly sharpened because a number of industries have become negatively affected, but new industries have also come into place. And if you're not aware of that, you may not make the right choices and not be then correctly positioned to take opportunities that arise.
Okay.
Mariam,
Please
if I
go
could
on. Yeah, I want you to add. I was just going to say, please, can you add to my question?
Yes. Firstly, let me just say that STEAM has been extended to STEAMAC, which means that we've added agriculture to that, and we've added coding. So
Lovely.
the conversation is now extended. Secondly, that you've just made mention of universities, but there's also another pathway that our learners can go, and that is through the TVET system, because this country requires artisans. And so coming Saturday, we're going to be talking very focused on our TVET colleges or artisanal programs for those learners that may not have the aptitude to go to university directly in terms of wanting to get into one of the major programs. There is also the other pathway of following occupational and technical education. And I think that is an approach that we need to look at, we need to change the mindset of our parents in terms of just thinking that the best way for my child is to go to university. There are other avenues. In fact, on Saturday, we're having Dr. Floris Prinsloo on the program, and Dr. Prinsloo has come through the apprenticeship program. He started out as an apprentice, and he worked his way through the apprenticeship program to ultimately get a PhD in technology. And so that is a pathway that we also need to explore with our parents. If we look at the scarce skills in this country, then a number of those scarce skills are going to be supported by what is happening in the TVET system. And therefore, we need to be guiding our parents that the world does not revolve around a teacher, doctor, lawyer, engineer, but there are other important work that needs to be done.
I'm so glad, because you know what, I'm the glass is half full. So while we've shown that only 10% goes, we don't have to despair, because as you've mentioned, there are other pathways. And before you, I had it written down there, because I'm very familiar with the CETAs. And in fact,
Yeah.
I'm a mentor at Masita, some skills development facilitator. And through the Masita program with my husband's company, we've trained about 5 motor mechanic apprentices. So I'm very well versed in a way in terms of the
Lovely.
requirements, the MBT based programs, and the levels to progress. And in fact, there's benefits for companies as well. And that's what
Yeah.
we, besides our parents, we need to make companies see the value of paying the skills development levy for joining CETAs, because from company side, I mean, every year on your CC tax, you get a huge
Yeah.
tax benefit from the
Yeah.
government if you train an apprentice. And once
Yeah.
the apprentice qualifies, you get this balloon holiday in terms of that year, in terms of your tax. So we need to look at it holistically. Parents, I think society, business as well, and then organizations such as yourself to work there. And like you say, we need.
Maria, may I ask you a question then? What
Mhm.
in your conversation with parents, how many parents are coming to you and saying, let's send my child to a TVET college? Or are they
Well,
saying to you, I want to go to university, my child must go
no.
to university?
So this is what I'm doing is, from my part as an
Yes.
educationist, I'm changing
Yeah.
strategy, because today
Lovely.
life is all about strategy. And in every situation, you need to look at the silver linings and where you can capitalize. So a good starting point for careers now is to bring up scarce resources. And doctors don't feature on scarce resource, and lawyers don't. Mechanics are very, in fact, not even South African scarce resource list. You need to look at the international scarce resource skill. Because if you're thinking of immigrating and you want a job and you want to go it on your own, UK will take motor mechanics. Canada is looking for motor mechanics. I mean, these are good countries and good passports to have as well. So you have to change your mindset. Your children need to earn a living, and the pie is getting smaller. So you have to speak to them, and they have to strategize to see how you're going to get there, and also the cost of education. Because if your child goes to a TVET college and they learn an apprenticeship, there's no cost on you, and your child starts earning. So if you look at somebody that comes out from medicine, in 7 years, your child is already a mess in terms of pension, benefits, money. They're already on their way to serving. So it will take a doctor another 3 years to establish himself. By then, that plumber or motor mechanic is already probably invested in a home or something like that. So it's important, like your platforms that you've created, to help learners and parents see opportunities and change mindsets in terms of, you know what, in terms of job arrogance and titles. Because you know what, those days of how you're a doctor, you there, in terms of our mindset, because that was created by society. Because that's what I've seen in Canada. You're respected just for earning a living and making an effort in having a job. There's no job arrogance. And I think in terms of your titles, we in South Africa need to change those perceptions and cognitions. I don't know, do you agree, Brother Haroon?
Yes, no, absolutely. So, as Ismail was pointing out earlier on, for some reason in the South African community of Indian origin, there are particular areas that we've chosen. So if you look at what has happened in UKZN, for example, is there's oversubscription.
Mm-hmm.
People of Indian origin in medicine and BCom. And that's why the cap is being put. And that means that you can't rely on those pathways anymore. You need to widen the base of the areas that you're pursuing as a community and, as a prospective person. But I agree with you that the world is becoming more flat as we're going further forward. The range of activities, economic activities, is becoming more diverse. And, in countries like Germany, for example, the relationship between what they call the vocational pathway and the academic pathway is much stronger. In fact, it's almost on par, and Germany's unemployment level is, I think, among the lowest in the world. And as you're pointing out, in South Africa, we've got a big gap between, we put a lot of esteem on academics, and within the academics, some particular professions, and that's not sustainable. So every occupation becomes important.
Brother
Two things
Ismail.
that
You
Two
go
things to
ahead.
add to that. One is that in fact, Arun, the German system, 60% is vocational, and with the academics, and then very importantly, Miriam, we first develop our learners for South African context. We need to develop this country. We need to develop this
Mhm.
economy, and therefore we first look to do what we can locally. It's also very important to understand when we get to our grade nines for those subject choices that our grade nines need to make, that we have this issue that maths is difficult, and the mindset that goes into that, um, that we're looking for softer options, and I think that is a conversation that parents need to have with their children, that life is tough, life is difficult, no matter where you're going to go in life, you will have to work hard, and so we need to get that mindset about hard work, a good work ethic. And if our learners adopt that particular approach, then we are going to get our learners to do mathematics and not sit and consider whether they should be doing math literacy. The second important point is when learners and sit with their parents and they make those subject choices for grade nine, you must look at what subjects you choose that is going to give you additional options. So that let me give you an example. If you're choosing to do, we know the four compulsory subjects, which is your two languages, it is mathematics or mathematical literacy, and it is life orientation, but you have three other choices. So if you choose, for example, and I'll take a very crude example, you choose history, you choose home economics, and you choose tourism. Okay, you are guided into a straight path into tourism. Home economics is going to help you somewhat, but there's not very much else you're going to do besides getting into an arts program or a humanities program. However, if you were to choose physical science, you were to choose accountancy, and you were to choose life sciences, with that, immediately your scope and options become a lot broader. And so our parents need to sit and seriously have a discussion with their children when they make those subject choices. It is not who's going to be the teacher in grade 10. Maybe that is a tough teacher. I don't want to go into that teacher's class and look for a softer option. And the soft option is going to get you nowhere. And therefore, we have the challenge when we get to matric. We have matriculants with very good results, but their subject choices have been poor, and therefore they almost at a dead end. And I think that is what we're trying to circumvent with the kind of discussions that we're having currently with you today and with the other programs that we've had.
Yes, I think we need to encourage parents also to move away from the comfortable subjects. When I say comfortable ones, the ones that we are familiar with, because if you look at the countries like China, Japan, Taiwan, and that their social subjects such as a history is done by the time they come to our equivalent grade 10. They don't even offer
Mm,
it because by that time there you need to now go into subjects that are going to lead you to your career path, because
mm,
if you
yes.
choose subjects that are going to, so if you take something like I say engineering, graphic and design, if you took
Mm,
something like CAT, if you took something like electrical technology, straight
yes.
after matric you can also go and work because you have enough practical experience, because those practical
Yeah.
components, if you look at those core subjects in terms of what they entail, in terms of the requirements there, and the competency of a learner once they've completed and matriculated, they can actually start out in an internship and then learn, earn together and study as well. So I think this platform that Musa has created is very encouraging. I'm so excited, and on air, I'm giving my offer. I'm there in terms of even guiding parents, talking to learners as well. You have a person here who speaks your language, because I feel, and that is why I spoke to Salam Media as well, getting involved in terms of providing you a Facebook platform, because
Mm,
then if a learner is not able to make the time of the workshop, they can always download it on, get into our Facebook page, listen to it. Parents can listen to it with learners in their time, and then also discuss and elaborate further. So the platform is now available on Salam Media as well, which gives you another dimension, being audio visual, and you'll always have it there. as a resource base. So whatever future workshops you have, it will always be as a resource base, because this is what we want to do. We need to provide. Yes, we know about government failings, and we can sing kingdom come about it, but if we're not going to be part of the solution as civil society to guide our learners, then we're going to have that so-called lost generation. And I know that is why you've come together, is because you don't want that lost generation, Brother Ismail.
No, absolutely not. And I think in one must take our hats off to brothers like Haroon Mahomed sitting here with us, who's taken the baton and running with it, and trying to get as many people on board so that we understand what our challenges are, and that we have the proper conversations. And the conversations is not with the adults as such, but the conversations need to be with that new and fresh generation that we need to be talking to. We need to give our young people the guidance so that they can take the country to the next level. And I think that is why we salute the work that is being done by Musa and the leaders like Mr. Mahomed there.
Time is caught up with us, but thanks so much, Brother Haroon and Brother Ismail, for availing yourself and give us your time. And this is not the last we're going to hear from both of you regarding this initiative, and also on educational insights. I'd love to engage both of you on various topics. Maybe we dedicate a topic and then discuss it for parents and listeners, because that is what educational insights is for, to provide counsel and advice to parents and children, as the parents accompany the children on the educational journey towards responsible adulthood. So shukran for your time and your efforts, and I'm so pleased that Salam Media is going to collaborate with you in terms of providing a platform going forward for the workshops that you intend having in the future. Jazakallah for joining us, Brother Haroon Mahomed and Brother Ismail Teladia.
Jazakallah to you too. Assalamu alaikum to listeners as well.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to you.
Wa alaikum salam. And that's today's program. Please join me tomorrow for another edition of Inspired Afternoons, only on Salam Media. From me, it's peace and blessings. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.